Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corse, and I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction Renovation magazine. I've got my halo on the cover, but I'm pulling some archives out. This is December 2020. I had Deborah Delaney, AVP Design and Construction for Mark's Sport Check out of Canada, and this was a great looking issue. Let's see how big it was. It was 148 pages, and always like holding it in here. Let's see what I was doing in the back. Oh, I got the pack of dogs with me. Anyway, those are all my dogs. The one big dog he passed last year, Gully. We miss him. Rest in peace. Up in doggy heaven. But anyway, they're all rescues. My wife's a rescuer, so we had the dogs in there. And anyway, we got four of them left. Hopefully, they won't bark if the Amazon person comes or whatever. It's dinner time's a ways away, but they got to prove themselves to get fed. So, but with that said, hope everybody's having a great hump day. Here in the ATL, we are waiting for, I think it's called Helene or Helen. I don't know, but there's a big storm coming up just north of Tampa into the Panhandle, and it's coming bullseye right for Atlanta tomorrow and Friday. A lot of wind and rain, and it's going to Nashville and end up in St. Louis. But all the people down there on the Panhandle, if I were you, take heeds from the city councilmen's on there and 10 to 15 feet of storm surge. And if you're by the beach, get out of there. It's flat down there, and there's no berms or jetties or any of that stuff. So here in the ATL, they're probably all rushing the grocery stores for bread, water, milk, and all that stuff. We're here, we're hanging, but a little rain. We got a little storm, a little front that's coming through, but the storm's coming, and they've been talking about it all since last week, and it looks like a doozy. And so we're sending positive thoughts down there to the people on the coast because it could do some damage down there. And here we'll probably get power outages or what have you, but you'll roll with the punches. You can't control it, just got to go through with it. So that's my exciting day. And I was up. Listen, I just started framing on my house. I was up there last night looking at my frame, and my friend was like, "Hey, where the rain's coming in and the storm?" I said, "Yeah." I'm gonna go up this afternoon before the storm comes in and just check things out and batten down the hatches, the silt fences, and make sure everything's good with erosion control. And then we'll go back a couple days after the storm clears and see everything if it's still standing. Hopefully, but I'm pretty sure it is. But anyway, I've got a really nice lady out in North Scottsdale in Arizona. Her name is Sheley Brien. She's the vice president of Brien Contracting. Shelley, say hello to our listeners out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Well, I just love this intro, and I feel like your side is so exciting right now with this storm here in Scottsdale. I mean, it's still warm, but we have sunny skies. So I'm excited to join you today, learn a little bit more about what you have going on there and meet your audience.
Well, we appreciate the time. And listen, Shelley's publicist sent me a PR piece on her, and normally I would have posted, but I always like when I see something that looks cool, and she's got a podcast herself that our fellow podcasters we like to it's not competition. It's we're all in this kind of gig together. So I always like to have different people get their perspectives. But she is a GC, and she's in the business and. So the way it's going to work, Shelley, is I'm doing it in three parts. You're going to tell your story, where you grew up, where you went to school, married, kids, what have you, and how you ended up at Bryan. And then we'll talk about the last 4 years of the roller coaster that we've all been on. Even though we're out of the tunnel, there's still some speed bumps, potholes, and et cetera that we're all going through. And then any cool projects that you're working on currently. And then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase, your contact info, and then we'll close it out. So with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Oh gosh, I mean, I don't know how much time we have on my story, and it's probably going to sound a little bit different than maybe some of your other construction friends that have been on here. So, my story actually started in finance. I was in finance. Gosh, coming out of school, I'm an Arizona native. So let me step back for a second. So I'm an Arizona native. I love the heat. Please do not take me below 70 because I freeze, absolutely freeze. But I'm an ASU grad, go Devils, and had nothing to do with construction. You're going to see this kind of trend until my husband came along. But coming out, I was in finance. I raised a big book of business. I was sitting in the office one day and I was like, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. And so I sold my book. I moved over to pharmaceuticals. So I was actually in the medical industry where I spent a huge bulk of time, about 16 years split between two different companies. And I was specifically in dermatology, which here in Arizona or anyone tuning in Florida, we are the melanoma, the skin cancer capitals of the country. So obviously it was a great education. It was a great education because it was where I was able to hone my sales, my marketing, excuse me, team management, HR, culture, being able to bring all of that. I built sales teams. I worked with global thought leaders. It was a really unique time to be in that industry. And I'll share later, but understanding the medical side of the system, like really understanding the medical system as a patient is something that we cannot do enough of. We have to be our best advocates right now. So after that, I had my fill of corporate culture. Okay. And anyone tuning in right now, whether you are leading an organization right now, and or you're a team member on an organization, you probably understand what I am saying when I say corporate America. I think that it is up to our leaders, and I've been with the best cultures to the absolute worst. Both taught me so many lessons that we are able to implement with our company right now and our teams right now. But I had my fill on horrible corporate culture. And so I thought, you know what? I've never opened a restaurant. Let's go do that. Like, why not? And that was really my first taste into construction, is because I had a gray space. It was a franchise location. First, I was the first franchise of this brand to come out of Southern California. And we built my space. I we built it in 10 weeks and it was unreal, but
Freestanding, or was it in a strip center?
it was in a strip center, but it
Okay.
was like a new construction, new addition,
Hmm.
and it was freestanding or in the strip center, and it had nothing. I mean, it was a crazy wild ride, but it really what I love what kind of got me more into the construction side and ultimately our business going forward is like I just loved being able to create. I love being able to create, see visions, think about like how is the customer going to experience this? Who could be potentially, if we sold it, like who could be the user? What would they want? What would they need? Like just thinking about things really beyond just the construction. And that really sparked definitely a huge fire in me for construction. That being said, if you ever want to sidebar, if you ever want to think about opening up a franchise, give me a call first, and I'm going to give you a firsthand experience on why not to do it. Because, like I said, this was the first franchise that I had, and the first franchise for this group. The franchisor we found committed fraud, misrepresentation. The state of California cited them. It was this huge debacle, which ended in me closing the franchise 11 months after opening it. So,
Lesson learned, right?
oh, so many lessons, so many lessons. No, it was a great opportunity for me to build my own first culture, right? Like out of, finance, out of pharmaceuticals and building my team and the culture. It was just a great experience like that. And I think the hardest part, not I think, I know the hardest part of me shutting down that business was losing my team. They were just good kids, good, awesome team. But that's actually was a blessing in disguise because I shut it down right before the roller coaster. Right before the roller coaster started. So I didn't have to own a restaurant through all of that. I didn't have to work through all of that. So again, it was a blessing in disguise. And right about that time, I had another business. This not like I told you, this is not going to sound normal, right? So
Hmm.
I had another business because one other thing that I do that I've been doing for 35 years is I compete with horses. So that is another arm of me. And with my horses, I had created back in my corporate days because I got bored. And I created another business where it was an online marketplace for high quality horses. So think six figures and above. And there was nothing like it. I was able to develop the website, market it, build it up, But during that time of the roller coaster, people needed access to information. And so what I did is I turned what was an online marketplace into an online education, connection, entertainment platform. And I spent, about 2.5 years building that up. I had brought on a partner at that time to kind of help with that transition. We could go like 5 more podcasts on partnerships too,
Right.
as you can imagine. But through that, I did lots of live interviews. It was my first kind of experience into media. We did events. I mean, in 2022, we hit just before we kind of closed it down. Well, it's still there. Another story. But we stopped promoting it. We hit over 3.2 million people. So being able to like take a brand, transition it and change it, rebrand it, but still keep the name and then offer services that the community needed it was just a really great time to be in it. And again, many lessons learned. Well, all through that process, I had been behind the scenes in our construction company, Brien Contracting. So my husband is the one that has been in construction since oh five. I think it was oh five. We just were next year we're celebrating 20 years married. So we
Congratulations.
well, thank you. Thank you. It's been a wild ride and just an amazing ride. And now that we're working together building this company, where we are and the things that we've been able to do in the last several years have just been phenomenal. And that's ultimately what we looked at is we had kind of multiple businesses. And when you have all of these businesses, you just can't be good at anything.
Hmm.
And while I was working more behind the scenes in our construction company, when I was doing the media, we just kind of looked at everything and we're like, where does it make the most sense? Where can we use our skills? And what is going to be the best return as well? And that's where construction came in. And so we shut everything else we had down and or sold it. And then we just went all in on our construction. Really, Chris had been all in for several years, about 2017, but like I went all in on it. And it has just been so fun being able to connect with the AEC community and all these lessons that I shared, all these different experiences in my career. It makes no sense, right? Finance, pharmaceuticals, equine media, restaurant ownership. You think none of it makes sense? It all makes sense right now. That's probably the best thing is that, when you are going through all these different trials, and listen, I've been in many different odd careers. They all give you that experience to lead right now. And that's what's been so fun and what we've been able to do with Brien Contracting. We're doing things a little bit different out here. And so we've just been having a lot of fun. And honestly, we have 2 kids. We've got a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old son and a daughter, and we bring them along with us. So my son was working all summer on job sites with the teams. And then my daughter, she does a lot of takeoffs. So she's working with the estimators. It's really been fun to bring them along with us.
On your horses, were you English or Western?
Western reining is the
Okay.
is the sport. So if anyone has ever watched Yellowstone, I know Taylor Sheridan, who created it, all the guys that are on that show, a lot of them live right out here by me.
Yeah. No, I'm originally from Philadelphia, and we grew up with horses. We had stables, and I had an Appaloosa quarter horse,
Mhm.
Palomino. I can go down the list, Buckskin, and went to hockey school up in um, Canada every summer, called a place called the Hockey Ranch. I don't know if it's still out there, but it was in Pickering, Ontario, about 45 minutes outside of Toronto, and it was 4 hours of horseback, 4 hours of hockey. You lived on the ranch and was up there every summer. And my grandfather, he was in World War II underneath Patton. He was a combat engineer, but he was in the cavalry. And
Wow.
I've got pictures of him on a white horse like Patton with his 6 shooter on his side. And anyway, we grew up with horses, so I totally understand that. I've shoveled plenty of horse stalls and had to put a couple down with when they get kicked in the leg. You can't fix them. It's just the nature of the beast. And
Mhm.
as far as, your stories, well, just like mine. I've done all sorts of stuff. My dad was in upholstery furniture. My mom's side was in recycling, demolition, construction since 1888. It's been around it's still in business today. My cousins and I, they're running it. And as a grandson in Philadelphia, you get your outside of Philly, you get your driver's license at 16. So nothing against the females, the women that are in our family, but and there was plenty of them. My grandfather was one of 13, children and his, uncles and grandmothers and so forth. But anyway, uh, when you got your driver's license, you had to go work in the scrapyard. So everything that I took from there, I shoveled asbestos, did railroad tracks, I did everything every summer. And I grew up there at the scrapyard, just like you bring your kids. And same thing with my father. We used to go down the showroom. I did my retail training at Levitt's out in Denver. And but my dad had passed away. My mom got remarried. She was in jewelry. I got GIA certified. I built, he had a whole chain, sold it. Then we built a couple stores. I didn't like sitting behind the cat, the counters waiting for people to come in. I was like, this is just not my deal. And but everything that I took from all of those things, plus I was a lacrosse hockey player, and you know, being that team oriented but still having your individual flair, and I worked for Nielsen. They bought our company out, and in right after 9/11, they whacked I started my construction magazine in 99, the year my son was born. And I considered it my kid. And right after 9/11, they whacked about, oh, I don't know, 50 magazines out of the hundreds that they had. And my little construction magazine got the axe. It was a bean counter decision. Had to lay my staff off right at Thanksgiving, soured me on corporate America. I flew up, met with the president, and I said, look, you need to sell me the magazine. And the president was like, David, we love you. You could retire here, blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, Mike, I'm going on the road to Texas. I'm coming back in a week. You make your decision on what you want to do. So they thought I was bluffing. And I came back. I said, you going to sell me the magazine? They said, no. I said, here's my resignation. I resigned December 17th, 2001. And everybody told me not to do it. My parents, everybody, you got an expense account, blah, blah, blah. And I just said, no, my heart's here. And someone had to stand up for the kid. And here I am standing 25 years. I had a couple partners. I bought them out. I've been on, I went to the '08, I went to the internet, but I mean, I've seen so much stuff,
Hmm.
but I'm still standing. And now I'm
Hmm.
digital. I don't even, I don't even really print it anymore. It's pretty much, I'm a digital guy. But everything that I took from all my sports teams to horseback, it's molded me in who I am. And when I started my company, I knew exactly how I wanted to run my firm. And I've worked with people. They didn't work for me. There's no I in team. There's almost so much time in a day. You got to be able to delegate. You got to trust your team. And there's your people are your biggest asset, as far as I'm concerned. And I'll take a guy like I'll put in athletics. I'll take a kid that's not the best, but he tries hard. He 150%, always on time, early, work, stays late, practices. I will take that individual all day long than some hot shot. And I'd rather have a guy that knows how to do everything, because you're more of an asset. Because someday, hey, you might have to, get up on the roof and fix something or whatever it might be. And so I can appreciate that story of, but I always tell people, if you're not happy with what you're doing, stop, get rid of it, because life's short. You don't, you can't get your time back. And hey, you thought it was
Hmm.
going to be something else, and then it didn't. You go do something else. So I give you credit for being able to, shut that down. And listen, being a horse person, hey, you get, that's awesome.
Well,
You're,
and you get kicked in the teeth, right? Like, I mean, that's the one thing I think horses taught me more than anything. And I'm so blessed because my daughter is now riding with me too, and we didn't push it on her, but they teach you responsibility. You like you have to work with a team that like does not communicate. So you got to think about it a little bit differently and put, a different perspective on everything that you do. And we compete at a really high level. So yeah, the horses are great, but I love that you called out like the changing careers, because I'm telling you right now, and I've talked about this a lot, is that there's a stigma, like a shame, right? Like I went to school for this career. This is what I should be doing for the rest of my life. Or I've been here 10 years. I couldn't leave now. Look at my golden handcuffs. Like I can't do that. we can't stay like that. You got to jump and go for it. And there is so much good out there when you do.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife, she was she had a restaurant. She was married before. Her husband was on I think he was on the 1980 Olympic team. He was the goalie. They had a restaurant in St. Louis. He played in the indoor league. And she told me, they had like a pizza restaurant anyway, she goes, oh, people are stealing from you, this and that, long hours and all this. And, you don't want to do the restaurant gig. Uh, and like I said, I did all these other things. And then she was in the refi during the refi day before the crash in '07. And now she's an interior designer contractor. We're federal contractors too. And so we're doing this house build. I said, look, we've never done a ground up. We really need it for your portfolio. Let's build it ourselves. And we'll learn how to do you've got your crew and anything interior wise, just a ton of basements, bathrooms, remodels. But we wanted to do that ground up. And I said, look, we'll figure it out, and one of us will get. If you like it, we'll get our license. And so it's been fun, and just like my son, he went to trade school. He went to aviation mechanic school. He was working for Boeing for 3 years, and now he's down in Dallas at FlexJet. Anyway, he was my little bird dog. We would get up and scam the SAM government website, and we're not building $30 billion nuclear power plants. We're taking off air filters off the top. We're doing some striping on the parking lot, just easy stuff. And so I said, look, you can turn wrenches on the tarmac for 120,000 and use your career, or you can be your own boss. And but we're proud of him what he did, and but he's working with his hands, which is what he wanted to do. And so going through this all, it's I'll tell you, being able to work with your spouse in a business is probably the toughest thing without ripping each other's heads off.
Mm-hmm.
So when we took on the house project or empty nester, I said, we just want to make it through the house without killing each other.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I kind of just, let her roll. Like last night, we're looking at, she goes, "Oh, I wish I would have done that." I'm like, "Look, if you don't like it, you can sell the house. We'll go build another one." It's no, 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 no. So I said, just let's get the frame up. We'll get the second. We'll put the roof, and well, believe me, things look small. I go, I know it's just the way it looks right now, but I'm telling you, it's not. So, uh, but really good story. And the best thing about horses is when you get bucked off, you got to dust yourself off. You got that back in the saddle. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's the
Yep.
best thing about horses. I mean, that horse trusts you, and you got to clear the shoehorn, and he lets an animal that could crush you. Uh,
Yep.
it's trust. It's building that thing. So, and that's just like business. You gotta roll with the punches. Sometimes you're gonna get bucked off, but you got to get back on. So,
Yeah, roll with
cool.
the punches in construction. Talk about that, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it's roll with the punches every single day.
Oh,
No matter how
yeah.
much planning you do, you're rolling with the punches.
Yeah, yeah. When we were doing this house, she designed it, and we were talking earlier about it, and we were going to put this basement in, and she was sick to her stomach and the land just wasn't cut to put it in there. And you can look at blueprints and CAD drawings all day long, but until you
Mhm.
go up there and you look at it, and then you see it, and you got to make changes. I said, babe, this happens every day on a construction site. You just got to make a decision and move on. And
Mhm.
so we did, and we like to. So I'm putting a residential column in my magazine starting this month, and I'm gonna feature a luxury residential different in a different city every month, but I'm gonna put my own little column in what I learned. So I'm starting on permitting and collaboration with the municipalities on how they could make it much easier to get things done. Permitting should not be going through. They don't talk to each other. And nothing against anybody out there in Forsyth County, because I've met you all. I love you. You got me through there. But when you say 2 weeks for your septic tank and 20 days for your permit, I don't care if it's perfect. It's not, it's going to take longer. And don't listen to them. Add 2 months to that and easily. So but those are the things that, what did I learn this month? I learned a lot, and I ask a lot. I told all the subs, I'm like, look, I'm going to ask, a lot of questions. So if I'm bugging you, it's just because I want to know.
Yeah.
And the more you know, if you don't know, ask, and then you will know, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, you talked about 2020 when you made that, kind of epiphany and said, "Hey, let's scrap everything, put all our efforts into a one thing," which I think was a really smart decision. And talk about what you learned that some of our listeners out there in commercial construction coffee talk can relate to, and then maybe a couple of cool projects that you've done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's funny. I mean, there's so many lessons, like you just said. Like you're like, I gotta ask my subs, I gotta do like I just want to ask, I just want to know. And I think just having that mindset of like, I just want to know, I just want to understand and seek to understand. So who is that person? And that would probably be, when it comes to construction and we are doing a lot of TIs, industrial, some civil work. Like we're transitioning and we're in this phase where we're growing to kind of like this new level. And it's like, okay, who do we need? Not like almost what do we need to know, but who do we need? And that's where I think is something that in construction, it's how can we work together? Like, who is the person that knows the most about that? Or who is someone that could introduce me to someone else? So we always ask ourselves, like, who can help us? Because it doesn't always have to be us. We have our specific in our business. What Chris does is very different than what I do. And just like in any partnership, why would you want those two partners doing the exact same thing? Why do you need a partnership then? And so working as a husband and wife, which we can touch on too, is in making all the big decisions, right? Like it is not it is definitely a team effort, but we always look at who is the next person that we need, who is the next person that can add to our team, or just even who could we consult with or talk with. And that is one thing I just think in construction, it's you don't have to have the answer. When you own, I don't need to know this, but who does? You can't go wrong. Even if that first connection is not the right one, it's going to lead you to the right one, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We she has her whole team. So I knew once we get the house, my plan is probably 3 weeks at the max to get the framing done, put the wrap, get the windows delivered, doors, put the roof on, get the house dry. And at that point it's all downhill from there. I mean, her
Hmm.
crew's gonna come in. I don't have to babysit them.
Hmm.
Drywall, flooring, paint, whatever.
Hmm.
She's already got all that stuff in place. And uh, having the right people and trusting them and giving them, knowing that, hey, we pay you nice, we feed you, we treat you like gold, but do a good job for us. And
Yeah.
be more jobs. The better job you do, we'll get more of them and we'll keep you busy. And so it and I learn something new every day. The day I stop learning is the day I should go do something else. So it it was just like I had to my neighbor had his gutters coming into my land, and we had an easement on the front of the property, and we had to move the sewer drain over. Had to get the county to come out, and anyway, there was another storm coming in, and it rained, and my neighbor said, "Oh, I'm so sorry about the gutter work." Don't worry. So I was talking to the plumber. Hey, what should I do? Should I put the pipes in? Maybe I'll put a riverbed, natural, make it water, but we're not landscaping for another 6, 7 months. And so I went and did it myself. I just went on YouTube, looked, and said, "Okay, this is how I do it," and I went up there and did it. And if you're not making mistakes, you're not learning. So I just kind of I looked and you can find anything on YouTube. So if you want to learn anything, look at YouTube and go do it. And
Yeah.
but it's been fun. I've been waiting so long just to get this thing done, and now once I get it dry, then I'm gonna kind of let her do her thing and crank it out. And it's but working with your spouse, it's not everybody's cut out to do it. It's you got to have a really good relationship. I've been married 30 years, 30 let's see, 94, so 95, yeah, let's see, 5,
All right.
20. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're up there. So
Yep.
and marriage, it's a work every day. You gotta,
Hmm.
you're gonna
Hmm.
have it is a roller coaster,
Hmm.
and then you put the business aspect of it. He puts that much pressure on it. So
Yeah.
I know that she's got her wheelhouse. I'm kind of like the ops guy behind. I'm looking at the spreadsheets and the budget and whatever, and she'll run colors by me. And this, I'm like, babe, I trust you. Do what you want,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it I can appreciate that, but it's really cool that you're working with your husband because not everybody can do that. And
No, and I wouldn't suggest it for everybody. You know, I mean, it definitely isn't for everybody, and it has its ups and downs, but there's probably two key pieces of information that I would just give for anyone that's working with their husband or just building up a construction company. I talked about the who, like finding the right people. I think that is just a great thing to always have on mind. There's a great book called Who Not How by Benjamin Hardy, and I would highly recommend that for anybody that's like kind of scared to let go and delegate. It will change your perspective on that. But working with your husband or spouse is understanding that you both have the same goal. You both have the same goal, but your perspective on getting there might be a little bit different. And so first knowing that whenever conversations come together, like we have dedicated meetings that are work, and we have dedicated days that are dates. So like we definitely it's funny. Everyone talks about boundaries, like have boundaries and don't do this and don't do that. It's not so much that we don't do certain things or have strict boundaries. We love talking business. We love it. And so why wouldn't we? But we make sure that our partnership stays our marriage stays our strongest partnership. That is the number one thing. And so we dedicate certain time towards the business, and we dedicate specific business talk. Like we sit down, we have an agenda, we go through it, we tackle what we need to for the business. But then we have 2 dates a week actually, and we focus on that. And when we're doing that, maybe it's business, maybe it's, like dreaming about the team or what we're going to do, talking about the kids, like, but having that time dedicated to us is what I would say the one thing that gives us a secret advantage. And the fact that you're not going to have an executive team that is more invested in the company than us, And so it just changes the perspective. And when the team sees us and the way that we portray and the culture that we create, we live our core values in everything that we do, from the job site to in the office. We live it. And when they see that and the strength of us, it just like it raises awareness. It raises just the ability for everybody to perform at a really high level and feel good about it.
well, I can tell you, you're in like a serious construction boom out in Phoenix, Scottsdale. I remember when the 101 was getting finished,
Mhm.
and they had a Home Goods, and then the whole North Scottsdale,
Mhm.
Greenway, just unbelievable. And then between the 101 all the way out to Cave Creek, that was just barren desert land. Now it's all built up, and
Mhm.
someone had to build all that stuff. I mean, Cave Creek still is, it's just a little biker town. Yeah, my parents' house is Rancho Mañana. Do you know the golf
Okay.
course out there? So
Mhm.
we had that was a development, kind of went belly up, and then they bought a house, I think on the 17th hole. I don't know. They got the screen up. They get golf ball. She's got a big old bucket of balls. They're she spends about 6 months in Dayton, and then her boyfriend was in Minnesota, but they're going back out to Cave Creek here in a couple of weeks. And anyway, they're it's just crazy how much I'd see. It's just like Atlanta. When I came here in '92, I went to the Olympics. I saw that building, and now Home Depot was building 140 stores a year, and it's just been amazing to see everything. And where I live, where our lake lot is, it was like the boondocks.
Yeah.
Now it's just urban sprawl has gotten out there. So uh, but I've seen a lot and learned a lot and kind of, just rolled with the punches. So what's your coolest project that you built?
Oh gosh, there's a couple. One that came to mind is we have a unique school. So Arizona, because we are having so many transplants come in, we just built this really unique school that is a nationwide school. They have one location already here, and we built their second, and they're about to expand already their second. So this one, it's just what was so neat about it was just like we're taught, like how you shared just how you kind of are morphing more towards digital with the magazine and everything. And you're going with the times, which is really neat. And what we loved about partnering with this client, and they're asking us to travel now, which is great. It was just a really cool experience. Is they're morphing with the times of school of people like us, people that are building businesses, travel, doing different things, don't have the typical schedule. Both of our kids are like heavy into their sport and travel. And so working with school districts and different things can be challenging. And this school, what was so neat is just the perspectives and how they offer school to kids for parents like us. Right. And so it was just a really neat project. And they were expecting, I think that they can take about 25 students total. Like it's a small school, but really highly immersive. They were expecting a year. They're full within like 3 months. Like it is insane. So it's neat. And obviously the expansion is coming and probably another location. So it's very neat to kind of see that really come and like just kill it. We want these businesses to succeed. When we build them, we're talking and we're like, how can we make this better? Is there anything that we need to bring up? Obviously, with my medical background, we've done a lot of medical space too. I look at it differently because I understand how the office works. So even though like the designer or the architect plans this out, I know the user. And so I can walk into these spaces and I can be like, oh, that's going to be a problem. That's 5 extra steps. That's going to delay them. Like I can just come in there and just offer a new perspective. We obviously come to the client and just offer like anything that could make the space better for the end user. And so it's just been kind of like, really fun being able to do projects like the medical projects. We've done some really cool TIs, but the school is the first one that came to mind when you asked, a really cool project.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny when we were going to get financed, look, interest rates and all this stuff, and we're
Mhm.
self-employed, and when you're self-employed, you put
Of
everything in the
course.
company, you don't show profit. It's just the reality.
Yep.
So I couldn't, so I knew the bank wasn't gonna finance me, even though my credit was excellent. And so we went with the hedge fund route and went through it. And my wife was back in the refi days. Uh, she kept in touch with the VP of the bank that she worked for. Anyway, she must have called him about a month ago. Anyway, we were getting our financing done, and they wanted to get us a line of credit with a HELOC or whatever. So she was in B of A, and anyway, she got the phone call from her boss, and he's like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm sitting here at B of A. I got to get this thing." "What are you doing?" "Oh, I got this piece of land I bought. We got the HOA said we got to build, blah blah blah. We're not sure if we're going to keep it or sell it, And well, so he's, you know what? Walk out of there right now. And right then, the general manager of the bank came and goes, "Mrs. Corson, we're ready to do your paperwork." She goes, "You know what? I'm going to come back." So anyway, we talked to Robert, and he's got his hands in all sorts of stuff. Anyway, he goes, "Look, I love Kristen. All right, we made a lot of money back, before the crash, and in '08. Anyway, he goes, look, I'm going to finance you, and you do a good job, we'll uh we'll do some other projects, some other flips, or whatever it might be. And so uh building the house now has kind of got these little other tentacles on here because I said, look, we walked through all the other homes we watched get built over the last 3 or 4 years in the subdivision. So we're like one of the last homes. You know that every wife in that neighborhood and the husband are going to walk through this house, and you're the interior designer. So you've got to make this house the coolest thing ever. We're not the biggest, we're not the smallest, but we just want it to look classy, and just we thought about everything. So when people go in there like, "Oh, I wish I would have thought about that. That's really cool." I said, "Your reputation's on the line because you
Yeah.
went and looked at all these homes, and they're all like Southern ranches, custom. They don't look all right, but that's what they are." And
Yeah.
so I said, "But here's a gig that if we do a good job, and either you and I can take the licensing test, and go for it." And so as you build things, we never even thought of any of that. We were just going to be like, "Oh, we just want it for the portfolio." And listen, going to do a basement and a bathroom is much easier than doing a ground up. It just is.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's so much more rewarding, in my opinion, knocking down trees, building it, and then you can go back and say, just like my magazine, every month I built that. So
Mm-hmm.
when I go by there, just like when you go by your your old restaurant, you
Yeah.
can say,
Yeah.
"Hey, I built that." So it's just one of those things. So, uh, anyway,
Agree.
What a great story. You know, if someone's out there in commercial construction coffee talk and you wanted to bounce some questions off Shelley, maybe how she built her team or, maybe, more information on the school. And God knows we need cooler schools out there in this country these days. How
Yeah.
can someone reach out to you?
I would say the best way to reach out to me is to actually just go on socials. So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube. My podcast too, it's a great way just to kind of get to know me. I share lots of learnings. Like this conversation today has been so great because it's just open and honest, and that's what we need more of for all the business. There is so much work out there. There's so much opportunity, and so staying connected with people that have like minds. Like I can just tell you and I'm like, oh yeah, there's so much to do, so much opportunity out there. That's the best way to do it. So I would say LinkedIn or Instagram is the best way.
Okay, so there you go. LinkedIn, Sheley Brien, and it's Brien, Brien Contracting, and
Yeah.
you can find her on LinkedIn. Send her a note, and you can talk some, construction. If you're a female out there, you can talk from the female perspective and all that stuff. And I always, I had a design build lady out in Oakland yesterday on my podcast, and uh, we were talking about she was doing, some commercial work, some stores. And I said, yeah, I never understood when I built my magazine way back when in 99 when I started that they had men designing stores and most of the women are the ones doing it. And they know what the dressing rooms need to look. They know how wide they want the aisles and so forth. And I didn't have that, I didn't have that many female women on my editorial board. So I took a look and I was like, okay, it was probably maybe 65-35, percentage wise. But now
Mhm.
it's pretty even, and I've added a women column. I promote, feature, I think on this email blast tomorrow, I think it's all women, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
women and men are wired completely differently. They just are.
And it's an advantage. That is a good thing. That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like we can be, I mean, I can talk days on this, but like we're not meant to be the same. And when you listen to other perspectives, just listen. You would be amazed at how much you could help your end user, your end client, your team, whoever it is. Like I love that it's becoming I mean I've been in male dominated industries my entire career. I mean realistically, and so learning how to navigate that, it's, I don't want to say it's easier than you think or harder, I don't want to label it that way, but it's just something that's necessary, and the ones of us that are willing to have these tough conversations and keep persevering no matter what, I know there's men I talk to that still struggle too. It's not just women, like, but we bring so much value just like men. There's things that Chris does better than me, and there's things that I do better than Chris. Lean on your strengths and then go.
Yeah.
So
Like I said, I used to do these retreats back in the day. I did a women's retreat and I used to do a men's retreat. Same questions, same schedule, but the women, nothing against the men out there. I think I said this yesterday on my podcast. I was like, the women were so much cooler and they just got together and the chemistry, it was just a much fun time. And I was like only one of them. It was a women's retreat. I was the host, and my photographer was a male and my editor was a male, but we were the only men there. They had their spouses there too, but it was a women's gig. But seeing it from a different perspective, it definitely gives you a whole different limelight of what you really need to know. And listen, you could be a welder, you can be a plumber, you can be a contractor, you could be one of the concrete trucks that delivered we had 8 trucks to do the slab pour, and my wife goes, "Oh my God, there's a woman driving this cement truck," and I
mhm,
said, yeah, what's with that? There's plenty of women that do that every day. There's welders, plumbers, and all that stuff. So,
mhm.
if you can do anything if you go with the right tools and you know how to do it, it's just practice and getting good at it. Just like riding. You probably weren't, Western. I did both Western and English, but you do it enough, it's like riding a bike. You never forget how to do it. So.
Just the desire. You need the desire to want to improve, and really you could do anything, honestly.
So as we finish up, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, I'm at davidc@ccr-mag.com. Listen, it's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. So, Shelley got on here because her publicist sent me a PR piece. I liked what it said on there. Boom, boom. Here she is on the podcast. And send us stuff. We look at stuff all day long. I'm a content builder. It's very tough getting in the magazine every month, but we have so much. I get millions of people a month that I think I was talking to my web guy. He goes, I think we'll go over 40 million interactions this year at the end. And it's been an amazing ride. Can't thank enough of you out there on the web that find us. But send us that. It could be a charity golf tournament. It could be a new hire, an anniversary for your company. And if we can't find it in the magazine, we put it out there. We sing it to URL. You share it. It's good for your SEO, which is your search engine optimization. That's how Google finds you. And it's a win-win. So send us stuff and let us, judge the book by its cover. Turnaround time TATs, about a couple days. But I answer all my emails, or my digital specialist Kim will, and we'll get take of it. And believe me, we like looking at everything. So. A couple of things before we sign off, but I wanted to get I want you to leave a positive thought for our listeners out there. I know you got a million of them up in that head of yours, so
do. I do. I do. I'm going to leave you two because I think they're good. And one's
okay.
been resonating with me. One's a lifelong one, and then one's been resonating with me just more recently is don't believe everything you think. When you're building a business and when you're working with a team or whatever it is, like our construction company and I'm like looking at our board, like everything, like don't believe everything you think because sometimes some of those thoughts come in there and try to derail you. Question it, be able to like grow your mindset. I think that's been one of the biggest advantages that we have been able to do with our company and our leadership abilities is understanding our mindset. So I'm going to say, don't believe everything that you think. And then the second one, I'm doing two. I'm sorry, I'm
No,
jumping
no,
in.
go for it.
But I know that you have a lot of ambitious people in the AEC industry. And one thing that I didn't share, but I talk about it as much as I can, is as we are all doing all the things, right? Like with you and building the house and also running the magazine and the teams and all of it, is you can't forget about you, is that you have to take care of yourself first. If we are going to be great leaders and be able to boost the AEC industry as much as we can, we have to take care of ourselves first. I didn't do this when I was in the finance industry and I grew a huge book of business in just under 3 years before going on to the pharmaceuticals. I actually went blind in my left eye because I didn't take care of my health. And when we are pushing our bodies so much, they're going to break. At some point, they're going to break. And it might not be like, oh, I have heart disease or I have high blood pressure or something. It might not be one of those common things. For me, it wasn't. And it left me, I mean, I'm actually in 1 week, I'm celebrating 20 years being blind in my left eye. I was not born this way, but it's a constant reminder that as we're doing the things that we're doing is to take care of us first. If we take care of us, everything else will follow. So a little bit of a health perspective.
Hey, listen, the mindset thing, I took a sabbatical last year and I took digital classes and got Google and Microsoft certified and building my digital agency. And mindset was like the most important thing that I learned. And get rid of any negative people that you're with because they're just going to bring you down. They're going to ruin your
Mhm.
company. It's like cancer. Get rid of it, cut it out. There's plenty of people that want to play in your sandbox. There's 8 billion people on the planet. Go find people that want to laugh, have fun, have a smile on their face and positive mindset. You're going to make mistakes. Like I said, you're going to get bucked off your horse, dust yourself off, get back on that saddle and go for it. Keep moving forward, making mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're not pushing hard enough, you're not learning. So both of those things are awesome. So couple things before we finish up. Number one, if you're out there on the construction site, first of all, we want you to be safe. I want you to get home, be able to have dinner with your spouse, your partner, your wife, your husband, your kids, your pets, whatever, and get a good night's sleep and be able to go up and do it again the following day. Number two, still very hot here in the ATL, but it doesn't matter if it's hot or if it's in the winter. Got to stay hydrated. That's the athlete in me. When you get dehydrated, you make mistakes and you get hurt, and headaches are no fun. So same thing on this, drink lots of water, put the electrolytes in there, keep your body hydrated and liquefied. You'll feel better. You'll do better work. You'll sleep better. Trust me. stay and drink lots and lots of water. And I say water because I'm from Philly, WADER. I don't say water. So, um, lastly, hit the like button. We want everybody to find this episode and the algorithms and all that stuff on the web, and so we can push it and we can hear Shelley's story out there. So, with that said, any final thoughts before you sign off out there in North Scottsdale?
I love it. No, I just wanted to say thank you. You know, what a great opportunity to just have this conversation with you and meet you. I really appreciated this today, and I love what you're doing for the commercial construction industry, and just so grateful for today. So thank you for having me on.
Well, we appreciate it. I'm going to sign off here from Sugar Hill, just below the Beaufort Dam on Lake Lanier. It's about 25 miles north of the ATL, and I got a dentist appointment at noon, and then I'm going to run up and see if I can batten down the hatches on my thing before the storm. I think it's called Helene or Helen. I don't know what the weather guy was saying last night, but anyway, she's coming, and with lots of rain, so we're going to get wet down here. But the lake's down about 4 feet. We need some water, and we'll take it here. We like filling it up during the winter and the fall, so for next year. So. Shelley, when I get it, I have an event. It's my last reception. It's I think the Tuesday after Thanksgiving weekend. I'll make sure that you get an invite. And if you and your husband want to come meet us out there, I think it's at the it's either at the Biltmore or it's at the JW Marriott right off the 101 in Tatum. So, but anyway, it's a construction thing. We get a group of people, we take pictures, we run in the magazine. It's almost like a Christmas party. But anyway, we do it every year. And so if you're available, I'll get to meet you and in person, it'd be great. And meet your husband too. So,
Would love it. Thank you. Yeah, I love it.
all right. So everybody out there, it's hump day. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. And we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Shelley, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. All right.
Thanks so much.
All right. Cheers, everybody. We'll see you later.